naming the starting quarterback and how some of that shook out as far as between the two and what went into your decision?
Yeah, I think it was a heck of a battle, and Daniel Richardson certainly didn't do anything wrong per se. Just felt like through 2.5 weeks that when Casey is at his best, that he gives us the best chance to win every game. D. Rich was great about it. He's one of everyone's favorites in the locker room, including mine. And he's a mature guy that understands that he'll be ready when needed. That I have no doubt about. But Casey showed through 2.5 weeks. Like I said, when he's on, he's really, really good. And we've got to increase his opportunities now in these next 2 weeks to kind of take charge and get a few more reps. With the ones, we don't. There's not a whole lot of difference in 1 reps and 2 reps. Maybe if we're running 8 plays, it might be 5 to 3, 1 to 2. So it's not a huge difference. But those added reps, especially when now that we're into what we like to call, our mock game week, similar Tuesday practice, similar schedule, similar Wednesday practice, similar schedules that we would have throughout the season. And so this is going to give Casey a great opportunity these next few practices to basically take all the reps with the guys that he'll be playing with on Saturdays.
How much does it speak to you about the strength at the quarterback room that it took you this time to finally make a decision on who would be starting when leading the snap for the offense?
Yeah, I honestly, I thought it would be more obvious than it was, and that's a credit to both those guys and Ben and Mike and Tyreek as well. So I do feel confident about the depth in that room, certainly. I think we've got some youngsters in that room too, and Tyreek, Carson and Luke that all have a chance to kind of be the future as well. So we're happy with our depth in that room for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned that for Casey coming over to FAU wouldn't be that steep of a learning curve, but can you just talk about how he's learning the offense and how seamless it's kind of been to him just learning that chemistry with the guys? And
yeah, I think probably the biggest hurdle that most guys struggle with is language. When the circles and lines are drawn on the board or whatever, it all kind of makes sense, and there's usually not very many quote-unquote plays that we'll run that a 60-year guy hasn't run, having been in now his 4th offense, so to speak. So I think just the language is the biggest hurdle for most incoming transfers, and so I don't want to speak for Casey, but I would imagine that having a language that he's spoken before, and even though we've added a few new words to the dictionary, he can still speak it pretty fluently, and the learning curve is much less steep because of it.
Following up on what Zach said, being very familiar with Casey for quite a long time, how much has Casey evolved?
Long time. Yeah, makes me feel old. By the way. Yeah.
I mean, it's 2020, well, 2018 technically, but how much has Casey evolved from his time when you went Texas to where he is right now? How much has he changed?
Well, I think he definitely sees the game better than when we got him as a freshman. I mean, you want to talk about bug-eyed. I remember one time I think he told me, as a freshman coach, I thought there were 14 guys on defense. So I think the speed of the game has certainly slowed down for him over the years. I think he's got a presence. He sees the game, and then he's still got the tools that we fell in love with. Him coming out of high school, he's got a smooth, quick, easy release that could come out at different arm angles, and he's got good enough athleticism. He's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Michael Vick, but he's above average athlete that you know, when the opportunities present himself, can do some damage with his feet as well.
Yeah, and what sort of the expectations do you see kind of around him? Because while he's entering a familiar sort of offense with you, the weapons around him in terms of the skill position players seem to be very vast. Can you just kind of talk about maybe what you're seeing from the skill position players playing with him?
Yeah, there's a lot to like. You know, if I was a transfer quarterback, certainly coming to a place like FAU with the roster the way it is built now, and I would imagine moving forward, you know, with the areas that we do recruit, you know, there's a lot of skill guys within a couple hour drive of our campus, and so I feel great about our 3 tailbacks. I feel great about really our 4 wideouts. I think we need to find a 5th and 6th wideout. That keeps me up a little bit at night, but I think the 4 and Lajohntay, Burton, Tony Johnson, and BJ, you know, those are certainly 4 guys that we think we can win with, and the 3 tailbacks. So we got some work to do in the tight end room. I know you're going to talk to Zeke here in a little bit. You know, for a true freshman, he's definitely been impressive, but our transfer in Khalil Brantley, he has done well. We're getting to see Wyatt Sullivan. We did not see him in the spring. He's getting better, you know, for a big guy that's still learning the position, you know, coming in as really a big wideout, you know, still kind of learning the physicality of that position. And then, you know, we're eager to get Jackson Sumlin and Elijah Brown back. So that'll be interesting. But I think, and I'll let him speak to it when you talk to him, but I think certainly the way that the roster was constructed from a skill position standpoint in terms of being able to distribute the ball to guys that can really do something with it, I think was an appealing factor for Casey, certainly when he decided to transfer here.
If you can indulge a little bit, what was sort of those sort of initial conversations that you had with Casey when kind of the telling him that he should come here and stuff like that?
It was probably, hey man, you want to do it again? You want to run it back? No, I think, and again, you'll talk to Casey enough. I don't want to put a lot of words in his mouth, but I do think, you know, this is his last rodeo, and you know, having been a summer transfer, I think he knew that it had to be a really perfect fit, and you know, the stars aligning, whatever the case may be, you know, with myself and Coach Fry and the offense, you know, being what it is, and then having players like Lajohntay and Burton and Tony and Larry and Kobe and Zuhu and, you know, those guys, I think, you know, it wasn't a very difficult conversation, you know, once he had made his mind up that he was transferring. It was, okay, let me, you know, I know you, Coach Herman, as a head coach, and believe in you, and now let me just make sure everything fits on my visit, you know, in terms of you know, chemistry with the coordinators and coaches and team and all of that. So not a whole lot of conversation, really.
So soon is mock practice. So what would you be expecting out of Casey Thompson during that mock practice?
Yeah, so just Tuesdays are we call them Toughness Tuesdays. We're usually in full pads throughout most of the season. We'll taper off a little bit towards the end. And that's, you know, we call it Toughness Tuesday because we throw a lot of hard stuff at both the offense and defense stuff that gives either our blocking schemes on offense or our coverages or fronts of, you know, problems and how to fix them. And so Tuesday is a big first and second down day, very physical day. Wednesday we put shells on, a lot of third down and red zone. And then Thursday is usually just the little spiders and helmets, and that's kind of a clean up, polish, you know, both sides of the ball. Their scout team, you know, the offenses will drive the field, kind of have simulated drives, if you will. So the expectation of Casey is, you know, to lead us in those practices, and then obviously we're still managing his shoulder. So, we've talked about, kind of a regimen of those 3 days, plus obviously Saturday, and then Fridays are walkthroughs for us, so take it easy on the shoulder, and then Sundays and Mondays, we got a chance to revive that thing, the shoulder, after, a 70-something play game.
All good?
All good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
I'll find out what that is. For me, it's something that I've wondered for the last few weeks. I think Coach Beatty, Coach Fry, Coach Herman on multiple occasions has talked about your work ethic at practice. And for me, I've never seen somebody complimented in their third and fourth year that's really never been pushed. You've held the starting job your whole time. What keeps that drive going for you, and what makes you work so hard at practice and set the example that way?
For one, I just know my teammates, they're watching me, my every move. The young guys up under me, they're watching me. So I'm a lead by example type of leader. So I feel like if I come out every day and give 1,000% effort, the younger guys and the older guys that's looking up to me, they'll do the same.
How do you sort of feel about the wide receiver room sort of around you? It seems like there's a lot of guys there that are trying to impress this season.
Yes, I'm very proud of my room. Hester having a great fall camp. BJ, he's coming along. He's doing real good. Burton doing his thing. I'm really excited to see what we can do this year for sure.
In camp, there's usually one side of the ball or the other. There's good days and there's days that aren't great. How close do you feel this offense is to hitting on all cylinders, so to speak?
We're really close, like really close. We just got to fix the little details, and then we'll be there.
And now that a starter's announced with Casey, how's sort of been kind of playing with him, trying to build that chemistry? What have you seen from him?
It's been real good. Casey, he makes crazy throws. I mean, he's a leader out there, and that's all you can ask for as a receiver is have someone leading the ship. So I'm very excited to see what he can do for us this year.
And following up what Zach said with chemistry, Herman said when we spoke with him recently, not today, but from a recent time we spoke with him, he said about the chemistry between the quarterbacks and receivers are progressing. How would you describe the current chemistry between you guys at this point in time?
It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. We making big strides though. I mean, we got a good week, 2 weeks to get all the way there, and I feel like we can get there in those 2 weeks.
I think since you've been here, there seems to be more weapons than what you've ever had. The running backs are used a lot more in the receiving game. Can you talk a little bit about that strength and the different options that you guys now present other defenses?
It really just makes us unstoppable now. That me personally, just my personal opinion, because now you can't just stuff the box and go man outside or drop 8 in coverage and try to stop our passing. You have to play honest. You have to play true. And that's what I like about us having a good running back core, a great receiver core, great quarterback. So I'm excited. I don't feel like nobody's going to be able to stop us this year.
How would you sort of compare yourself to maybe previous years? What have you think you've gotten better at?
Just my vocal, being more vocal, wise, leadership wise, and just catching the ball better, blocking way better. So yeah, those are just the 3 main things that I can see in my game that's been increasing.
Compared to prior years, how do you feel about the team being able to handle the level expectations set upon you for this year compared to prior seasons?
You could just tell everybody on the team bought in now. Everybody on the team following Herman, whatever Herman say do, everybody 10 toes in, like everybody all in. And that's all you can ask for as a team from a head coach, So I feel like everybody just bought in, everybody's ready and eager to have a good season this year.
And speaking of Herman, how do you feel so far about like the culture that he's trying to instill? Can you notice that compared to previous?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Discipline is the main thing. I feel like Herman, he disciplines us to the T. So I feel like that's another thing. Like, okay, fellas, the students, the players on the team, they know, okay, Herman's not playing with us, so we got to lock in and be on our P's and Q's every day, because it might go left with him. So yeah, discipline.
What was your reaction when you heard Casey Thompson was announced as the starting quarterback?
I kind of figured, Casey came in, he was dedicated, he knew all the plays, knew the checks. He was just a leader out there from the jump, and he was very confident, so I kind of figured it, I kind of seen it coming, so I'm ready. I can't wait to see what he do for us this year.
And follow up, so you guys, since the offseason, you are now in a new conference with a new head coach and now a new starting quarterback. How have you been able to adjust all these new changes heading into this next season?
It really ain't been a big adjustment. It just been getting the guys, the other players on the team to buy in and to follow along, because that's been the main problem with our team recent years, like past years, just players not being bought into what the head coach wants or what the offensive coordinator wants. So I'm just trying to get everybody to be bought in and to be committed to what they got, to what Coach Herman wants from us. So.
All good?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I like that, 10 toes in, I never heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Lajohntay.
Thank you.
You good, you got it. Zach, you're another name that has come up.
It's Zeke, isn't it?
Zeke, I'm sorry.
Confusing.
Sorry.
Confusing
Sorry,
me.
I want to make sure I was right.
It's me, I'm terrible with names. Zeke, you're one of the guys that coaches repeatedly talked about over the last couple weeks. Someone, not necessarily a surprise, but somebody who is a freshman that's come in and had an impact, especially because the other guys are out. Can you talk a little bit about that learning curve for you coming in from high school to what college football is about?
It's definitely a big adjustment. A lot more plays. The language is all new. The speed of the game is definitely a lot quicker. But I've played football a long time, and you start to develop a feel, just like when you're a freshman in high school. So it feels like I'm just kind of doing that over again.
What's been the biggest adjustment for you?
I definitely say the physicality. Everyone's strong. Every single position, every single player on the field. So I'd definitely say that's the biggest adjustment.
For a freshman, you're coming in, you're moving into a new place, you're trying to get your classes, you're trying to learn what the program is about in the weight room and on the field. There are times I'm sure your head is spinning. How have you been able to lock in and make the strides you have on the field?
Well, our coaches do a great job of helping us through everything. even like learning everyone's name, like every little thing you can think of is a learning curve. But our coaches are very helpful. Our support staff is phenomenal. With everything. So if it wasn't for them, I don't think it'd be possible. So I'm very grateful for that.
Even as a freshman, have you sort of embraced that underdog mentality of showing the coaches of what you're really capable of doing at tight end?
100%. It's like, for me, it's about trying to prove myself to my teammates and build their trust. That's the biggest thing I feel like that you have to do as a freshman, is build trust with your teammates, coaches, because without that, you won't get the opportunity.
And how do you feel about Coach Herman giving you that recognition of somebody who stood out to him at the tight ends group, and that you would be probably getting a lot of reps during the season? How do you feel about that?
Well, I appreciate it a lot. A lot of hard work goes into it, so being able to be recognized makes it definitely more worth it.
In high school, did you consider yourself more of a run blocker as opposed to a receiver, or vice versa? And do you think that you're working on one area or another now in college?
I think in high school I did a little bit of everything, and here our offense does a little bit of everything. So that's not too much of an adjustment, but there's definitely parts of my game that I have to work on, and those things just take time.
How much has Coach Lunsford been beneficial to help you understand when to move, when to shift positions, and knowing when to make your routes during drills?
He's great. He knows a lot about the game, stuff that I've never even heard of in my life. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be up to the speed I am now. I definitely ask him a lot of questions quite frequently, so we joke about that because I'm always asking questions. But he answers all of them, and he always gives his time.
Could you sort of compare maybe the atmosphere of high school football compared to college football, and how sort of the culture, I guess, is different?
Well, one thing, I haven't played any games yet in college,
Yeah.
so I can't really speak to that. But as far as the team culture, it's awesome. Everyone's 100% bought in. and that makes it a lot easier to go out there and work hard. And I love that. I mean, just being around 115 guys who all have the same dream as you and same purpose and goals. That's really fun to be around.
So the other day, Coach was saying how like throughout this entire camp, you've been having one hell of a camp. So what kind of drives you to playing hard at camp and like doing well at camp? What kind of drives you?
My teammates, coaches, my family, and they sacrifice a lot to be able to get me to this point. So just, working hard, doing everything you can do is, paying your family back and, working for your teammates because they're working just as hard for you.
Did you look into Harrison Bryant at all? He's from Georgia as well. Is that he close to you or no?
I heard his name the first time I got here, so not yet, but I've heard his name, and then there was another guy who I get called as like a nickname. I forget.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's from close. I don't know how far away he lives from you in Georgia, but it's from a really small town. I think about an hour from.
In Georgia?
Yeah.
Gray, Georgia.
Yeah, about an
Never
hour.
heard of
from
it.
Yeah. No, it's small.
Well, think about this. He came here to play tight end. He was an offensive tackle in high school just because he was the biggest guy in the school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's definitely some of those.
And then became the Mackey Award winner. So.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're up.
Thank you, Zeke.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For you, believing in yourself and those kind of things. Can you just talk a little bit first, I guess, on how much Daniel pushed you during camp and where you go from here?
Yeah, I mean, for me, moving or having to go to a new place, a new team is never easy. And I think it was good that this summer I was able to just work through the things that come with moving to a new place, whether that's a new job, a new team, a new city and environment. Just getting used to where everything is around the building and getting used to the guys and everyone's nicknames and just how we do things here in South Florida was a kind of a culture shift and adjustment for me at first. And then my biggest goal or challenge this summer was just to get to know the guys and to let the team get to know me. And I feel like that's gone well, as a lot better recently as practice has started. And training camp is my favorite because we get to just be around each other every day, and I get to sit down with offense and defense and specialists and sit down with linemen and skill players and just different type of people, just being able to talk to them and hang out and just become one of the guys. And then training camp has been good now that it's over, but it was good and it was fun. And Daniel Richardson, he has a lot of skill sets, and I was pretty impressed with his play and just his overall knowledge. He's a really smart guy. He graduated college already and undergraduate. You can tell he knows defenses, he knows protections, he knows how to read through coverages and stuff like that. And you can just always tell when another quarterback has a game experience and has starts under their belt. And so I was really impressed with the way he was able to use high level football IQ, and he makes a lot of plays as well, throwing. So and then like Coach Herman said, the quarterbacks that are in the room, the younger guys, they really have good arm talent. Tyree Starks and Luke, and then also Carson Kruger. Ben Ballard throws it good as well. Mike Johnson has some good skill sets, and I really feel like regardless of whatever team that I've been on, this is a really good quarterback room that we have. And so I just give a lot of credit to all those guys in the quarterback room for just holding me accountable and help push me every day.
Can you just talk about those conversations that you did have with Herman? Because I imagine that missing the spring and going into an offense where you have some familiarity, was that sort of one of the benefits about coming here?
Yeah, for me, once I knew I was going to leave and seek new opportunities, me personally, I obviously called Herman and the whole staff reached out. And for me, being familiar with what you're going to get going into your last, I wouldn't even say last year. A lot of people say last year. I got here in June, so that's only 6 months.
Right.
So really, when you think about it, you come in June, and then the season starts in August. So it's really not even a full year. And so also coming off of shoulder surgery, I knew that there would obviously be a lot of question marks, floating around. And so for me, it was just really good to to solidify and kind of answer those questions with my actions, with the way I throw the ball, the way I study. As far as the offense, this offense is something that I know very well. I was with Herman for 3 seasons at Texas, and in fact, when I got here in the summer, actually on my visit, so when I came to visit, I sat down with Coach Fry and Coach Herman for like, no joke, 6 or 7 hours. And, they took my parents to, go tour and stuff like that. And my mom went to the beach to lay out or something, but all I did for the first day or 2 was sit down and watch film. And I quickly realized from my time being here, sitting down with the coaches, and then my time on the phone before the visit, Coach Herman runs an offense that I know from Texas. Charlie Fry is what really attracted me to come here from an offensive quarterback standpoint, because if you look at his history, he worked with Tua Tagovailoa at Miami Dolphins. Okay, then last year he was with Mike Yurcich, the offensive coordinator at Penn State. That was my offensive coordinator in 2020. A lot of people don't remember that. And so when you take Herman and Coach Fry and, from the places that he's been, and then a lot of people forget that when Coach Fry was with Tua in Miami, they ran a lot of NFL concepts that Tua ran at Alabama with Steve Sarkisian, who also was my offensive coordinator at Texas. And so when I come in, I know all of the plays, I know the formations, and just from all the different systems that I've learned, I've been able to even remind the coaches, like, hey, no, that's not, we changed that signal. That signal was something different back in 2018, or we actually used to run that at 14 yards instead of 12. And so Coach Herman and them may not tell you, but I've even had to, just remind some of the details I remember so well. And the support staff that we have here, and Matt Smithbush and Tyler Fambro, they were with Herman at Texas. And so I knew that I was, coming to a place where I knew a lot of familiar faces, and some of the support staff that Coach Herman has their own offense. I worked with those guys over at Texas as well, and we kind of been through the fire together. So when you go through things with people, you kind of build trust, and you just build that relationship that you'll have for a long time. So that's what made me feel comfortable with coming.
You mentioned Coach Fry. One of my favorite things to do is to watch the quarterbacks' drills. Not necessarily what the quarterbacks are doing, but how efficient he is, which I'm assuming came from working in the NFL.
Right.
How much of went into your decision to come here, the mindset of this is the next step that's going to help me get to the NFL and learning how to act as a professional on campus? Like
I said, Coach Herman attracted me to, be interested in the opportunity, but Coach Fry is really what sealed the deal for me, because he played quarterback in the NFL, right? And he's coached in the NFL, he's played college ball, he's coached college ball, and it's always good to have a quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator that played the position for one, and he's just a really good guy. And like I said, I knew from talking to him on the phone, and then coming to visit with him, I just knew he was professional. I knew that he knew the offense, and it's just, he's a football junkie, and I am too. And so during training camp, we sat down every night for 1 to 2 hours a night, just going over, hey, what do you think about what we installed? What do you think about what's coming in next? Look at, here's some tips that you can see in the defense. Do you like the way we run this? Is there something we can change? And so just from the first time that I met him, and even to now, we've always just had a relationship that's good, and it's only getting better. And we have good chemistry as far as how we see the game, how we see the field. And I think that's really important for the quarterback and the offensive coordinator and the play caller to be on the same page. And he just kind of knows what the NFL is looking for, because he's been there, he's played in it, and he's coached quarterbacks at a high level, like I said, with Tua. So that really attracted me, and he's really good with drill work. He's good in the film room. He's just good overall. He's good scripting, and I just like being around him, honestly. That, honestly, is, when you're with your position coach, that takes up 90% of your time. And I really enjoy Coach Fry, and I just think that's important to, be with the coach that you can learn from, that you respect, and that you also just like being around.
Casey, you can watch, 15 minutes of practice, and you can see your athleticism and your arm skills. Beyond that, what do you believe makes you a good quarterback?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. I think about my strengths and weaknesses every day, and when I watch film and when I sit down, when I lay down at night, and when I'm kind of just going throughout my day, I think what am I good at? What could I improve on? And if someone were to ask me, what are your biggest strengths, I would say Just my football IQ, I would say, is my number one. I would say my natural instincts and like Coach Herman talked about, my release and ball placement. And then my athleticism is something that sneaks up on a lot of people. I don't know, for whatever reason, a lot of people, I guess, don't know. Just because a quarterback is a really good thrower, sometimes they don't think he can run, and then vice versa. When a quarterback is a really good runner, they don't know if he can throw. And I think my strengths are being able to throw and run. And then just kind of like the other guys talked about, I really enjoy, honestly, having an influence on people. I like having a positive impact and influence on others, and just being able to be a leader in my own way. I like to lead by example, but for me personally, I'm not a big like rah guy. I'm not like a real big screamer, but I enjoy having one-on-one conversations, whether that's at practice. You guys have probably seen I like to pull guys to the side, and I like to say, hey, what did you see here? And I just enjoy that one-on-one time or small group situations where I can just talk to the guys and be myself. And I just think leading in that way goes a long way. It has a really positive impact. As far as the things I'd like to work on, obviously I would like to work on being healthy, coming back from my shoulder injury, and also just continue to work on the details, taking care of the football, and then my arm strength is something. Those are things I like to work on. But as far as my best strengths, I would say my arm and just my athleticism and my ability to have high football IQ.
Casey, taking the time to recover from shoulder surgery during the spring and summer, how would you describe your recovery process in trying to get your throwing motion back into rhythm?
So honestly, I had surgery on December 5th, 2022, and I played my last game in week 12 on November 25th or 6th. So it's crazy to think like less than 10 months ago, I had shoulder surgery, and honestly, the biggest accomplishment for me this year so far has just been able to come back from that and make it back to where I am now, and just being able to make it through training camp. When you talk about you can't even pick up and throw a football until month 4, and I'm at the 9-month mark. It's just crazy when you think like that rehab journey and process is really more mental than anything. But just picking up the football, and I started throwing on March 27th, and here we are. It's not even the end of August, and being able to be back, doing what I love to do and throwing the football, and be pain free. And I'm really just happy about being able to come back from that surgery and just be where I am now. And I know that I still have a ways to go, and I'm not even back to being where I would like to be yet, but just making it this far has been a really big accomplishment for me. And the rehab process, like you talked about, honestly, I just think it comes down to your work ethic. A lot of people, when they have surgery, the average person may only do treatment 2 to 3 times a week, go to physical therapy, see a PT, and then go home and do nothing. I did treatment 3 times a day from December all the way until now. I do 2 or 3 treatments a day. That's in the morning, that's after training, and then that's also in the afternoon as well. And I was staying up here, whether it was at Nebraska in the spring or here in the summer. I was staying here pretty much until the training room closed, and just kind of do a lot of treatments from that standpoint. So I just think that journey has been really good.
So what was it like being hearing your name called as being the starting quarterback for FAU? Was it like a surprise to you, or was it something that you knew? Because you said earlier how like a lot of the quarterbacks in the quarterback room have been like doing tremendous in practice. So were you like surprised that your name starting quarterback, or was it something like you knew before you headed to FAU?
I think with anything in life, you have to earn it. And honestly, like what I like about coming here and any quarterback battle I've been in is that I like that nothing is given and everything has to be earned. And that's something that I respect the coaches for, making me earn it. We rotated, we rotated who went first and who went second, and we also split the reps right down the middle. Me personally, I kind of knew in the first few days of training camp, like, okay, I still got it. I'm able to use my arm and use my legs. But when I kind of started to build confidence was we had 2 scrimmages. Both scrimmages I had all touchdowns and no turnovers and took care of the football. And we had a lot of explosive plays. And for me, honestly, that was a really big positive. And I didn't necessarily know, like I said, when I heard that the coaches were going to be naming starters and setting the depth chart, I wasn't like 100% sure. But I had a pretty good idea just based on my performance that I feel like I earned it. But like I said, I didn't know for sure how they were going to handle that, and I was just kind of going throughout my day yesterday, getting treatment and stuff, and I got a text that said Herman wants to meet with you. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, this could go one or two ways. It could be really good or it could be really bad, you know. And ultimately, it's their decision. But as a competitor and as a football player, I just feel like anybody in life in the profession, the goal is to be so good that like they have to reward you. The goal is to be so good that, you know, it's noticeable and that everyone sees. And me personally, that was kind of my goal. And I just think that I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, and I'm only going to get better. But it was very good to hear that I got named the starter. But at the same time, it's almost like, okay, you have to be humble because we play a game next Saturday, and the guys on this team, they just want someone back there who's going to lead them and take care of the football. They want someone who they know works hard and cares about them. And I just know that if the coaches feel like that I'm the guy to do that, I appreciate it. But I also know that at any given moment, your job can be taken away. You know, I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been a starting quarterback and I've been a backup before. And regardless of what your role is, you have to prepare every day like you're going to play on Saturday, and you have to just try to compete with yourself and be the best every day. And so I just think from that standpoint, it's going to keep me humble knowing that my goal is to win games here, and my goal is to move on and go to NFL and become an NFL quarterback. And so being named the starter is not something that I'm going to celebrate too much. It's just something that I feel like comes with it.
You're entering a situation now where the team around you is pretty stacked in a lot of different ways, and even during that first scrimmage, you were targeting B.J. Alexander a lot, and you have Wester and the experienced backfield. Can you just kind of talk about the offense around you?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the offense and the players that we have. Larry McCammon is obviously, we know he's a great running back. I think he's an NFL player. Lajohntay Wester, I watched him on film, and then I got here in person. I'm like, okay, he's a real guy, you know. So he's very talented, but a lot of people, like you said, don't talk about the rest of the team, the players that we have. We have B.J. Alexander, we have Jayshon Platt, we have Tony Johnson. You know, you got just a lot of different guys. Burton is a really good player, and then just some of the guys that we have that are coming in. I honestly like where the receiver room is at. I like where the tight end room and the running back room. There's more depth, I would say, than I realized. I'm not going to say that I didn't know, but obviously when I got here, you know, I'm trying to like say, okay, who are the best guys, who are the leaders? And I could tell from the first day, Lajohntay Wester and Burton, those are the leaders in the wide receiver room, and you can tell right away. You know, Larry McCammon and Kobe Lewis, you could tell right away those guys are leaders. Chaz Neal, he's one of the leaders in the O-line room, Federico. So you can tell who's the leaders, but what I've liked the most about the summer and training camp is just seeing guys make plays. Hester made a lot of plays that you guys saw in the scrimmage, and just guys making a lot of plays and building an opportunity for themselves. I'm really happy for them. I know that I just met them not too long ago, but just seeing them succeed makes me really happy. And at the end of the day, you know, we want to make the team as best as possible. So everyone is just going to have to be ready when their number is called, and I think we have really good depth so far.
I saw on social media for athletics, there are like some FAU sponsored events of for the athletics teams meeting the community in Boca. So what was like meeting the people of Boca Raton, and how's that kind of community kind of compared to like back in Nebraska?
The community is really good. I actually have done a few different events for community service. I've gotten to go hang out with some kids, watch them practice. I've gotten a chance to do a few different things. Boca Raton, you can tell it's a real, you know, kind of calm environment. It's a lot different from South Miami. And I've been to Florida a lot. You know, a lot of people don't know, but South Florida has been a vacation spot for my family and I since I was 9 years old. And I come 5 or 6 times a year. So I'm very experienced. I know exactly what's in Boca. I know where Fort Lauderdale is. I know Miami. You know, I know Broward County. I know Western Florida, all that stuff. So I'm very experienced with this area, but just living here, I've been impressed with just how quiet it is, and you know, how nice you know, the people are, and I really like the community so far, and I think that FAU has a good fan base, and I think that it's only going to get better. You know, obviously it's a young university, but as far as how it compares, you know, I've lived in Oklahoma City is where I'm from. I moved to Austin, Texas. Both of those were state capitals. And then I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska. So all 3 of those places were the state capital. this is the first place I've ever lived that's not the state capital. So you don't get, there's not as much traffic, there's not these big buildings, there's not just a lot of things always going on, loud noises. And so I like that it's calm, and I like that the people here are nice, and you can just tell, South Florida is a good place to live. And like I said, as far as the fan base here, I like where it's at, and I just wanted to continue to make it, better.
And how have you been connecting with your offensive weapons, like receivers, tight ends, running backs, and also connecting with the offensive line? Like, have you been like a leader on and off the field? Have you guys like hung out at like restaurants and like that?
So the offensive line probably, I would say, welcomed me in the most when I got here. The centers, and Alex and Federico and Lamas, and then Chaz Neal was my roommate, so I'm very close with the offensive line. In fact, they came over, I think last night, and they came over and I got them cases of water. I just did this little brand deal with Essentia, and now that training camp is over with, I like that we'll have time. It's kind of been my tradition as a starting quarterback to take the offensive line out to eat, and they don't know where we're going yet, so that's something that we're working through. I want to do something with the receivers, but still just having fun with those guys. But I love the offensive line, and I think that they really they enjoy me as they got to know me. They give me a hard time, but I've gotten closer with those guys up front, and they welcomed me in probably the most when I got here, and they got to know me, and they really took time to sit down and talk to me. And actually Federico and some of the linemen, they called me before I even got here, just saying, they kind of introduced themselves and say, how are you, where are you from? And I really appreciate and respect those guys. And at almost every meal, if I don't sit down with the skill players, I sit with the offensive line. And so we're getting really close, and I would like that training camp built us some good camaraderie from that standpoint.
This is a similar question to ask Coach Herman, but obviously the other way around. You two have known each other since your days in Texas. What's the biggest change you have seen from Herman and yourself since you last saw each other in Texas?
Well, the last time I saw him in person was obviously in the Alamo Bowl. We played against Colorado. We beat them in the bowl game. I was the backup, and I went in at halftime. And they, so that was a really fun time. We blew out Colorado and had a bowl win. With Herman, he went 4-0 in bowl games. When I was there, we went 3-0, so that was fun. But just the last time I saw him, it just was, we got done playing a bowl game, and it was kind of like, I thought everything was, hey, I'll see you, when we get back. And then, everything happened, and, we fast forward later, from the end of 2020, January 1st, 2021 to now, Herman reached out to me last year. He was like, congrats on your, being able to start at Nebraska. Congratulations on that win. He texted me a few long texts last season and just told me how proud he was of me, just to see me grow as a man and as a quarterback. And he said some stuff in the text, and I was like, man, obviously he's had these thoughts for a long time, and he just never got a chance to share them. And fast forward to here we are now. Like I said, it's just, hey, you want to do this thing again? And it was just good to see him. But I think from Texas to now, I've just grown as a person. I've gone through a lot of adversity, from injuries to having to move to having to get accustomed to new cities, new environments, different coaches, and just being able to grow from those things has been really good for me. And then as far as Coach Herman, I've noticed a difference in his health. He seems happier. He seems, in shape. And from the time I've seen him before, he just seems less stressed. He'll tell you that. I mean, Texas is a stressful job. Obviously when you're in that position as a head coach. And then he is still strict. He's still disciplined, but he has more fun now. He probably jokes a little bit more than he used to. So that has been good to see from him. And I think that him and his family really like living in Boca Raton, and that was kind of the big reason why he took this job. And so it's just good to see him at a good place in life.
So Boca Raton is a kind of small town, big following, a fan base for FAU. So what would you want the fans to know? What type of quarterback are they getting? Game one against Monmouth. What type of guy are they getting?
I'm a guy who's just gonna do my job and work hard. Like I said, I bring football IQ to the table. a good arm, a good release, and some athleticism with my legs. But I'm just going to try to manage the game. I'm someone that just wants to lead the team and do my job and be positive. And as far as what we would like to see from the fans, we want to see everyone come to the game. We want to see packed out stadium. We want a lot of support from the community. And whether things are good or bad in the season, on or off the field, I just want everyone to know they're going to get the same person from me all the time. I'm just going to try to work hard and do my job and stay positive.
All right, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, man.
Charm City, that's what we'll get.